Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode here of the Monster Madness Radio Review Show. We are here to talk about the ending of the epic trilogy, plus one, of the Arkham trilogy made by Rocksteady. That includes Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight, which was made by Rocksteady, and then Arkham Origins, which was made by Warner Brothers, which is not considered canon by Rocksteady, but has elements which have been put into Arkham Knight and basically kind of sets the tone in terms of gives you a storyline idea for Arkham Asylum. I will say this right now before we go any further. If you have not played any of the four games, stop now. Obviously, Arkham Knight being the newest one, obviously, is probably the one that most people are going to be worried about spoil. But
Spoiler warning.
But we are going to be talking about every single Arkham game in the series. We are going to be talking about spoilers. We are not going to do this in order. We are going to go basically picking out bits and pieces. But obviously, the main focus is obviously going to be Arkham Knight, because obviously that's the end of the Arkham series and the end of the Rocksteady trilogy. Because Rocksteady have now publicly come out and have said that they have no plans to make a Batman game for the future. So this is basically it for Rocksteady for the time being. And the other thing I will say, obviously, is with Arkham Knight, Martyn and Ciaran, who obviously I will announce properly in a minute, played it on the consoles. I played it on the PC.
James, just quickly, we know you want to. Just get it out of the way. Get the rant out of the way now.
No. Here's the thing. It's much like TV shows. You don't give them what they want at the start of the show. You make them wait for it.
You're going to wait until the very, very end, aren't you?
Might do. I might not.
This is the thing, Nick. You can't. As much as I want to hear this rant, because of the fact that you do have amazing rants, I kind of want you to get it out of the way right now.
It depends on how bad Rocksteady has hurt me, because they've hurt me quite badly.
To be fair, it's not actually Rocksteady's fault. This is Warner Brothers' fault.
No, it is Rocksteady's fault.
How's it Rocksteady's fault? They didn't choose who was porting the PC game.
They're the ones making the game. They should have a call as to who gets to take the port. It's their game. Why aren't they the ones that's calling who takes the port?
Because Warner Brothers had the final say on everything.
That's bollocks. I'd turn around and say, right, so you want me to make a game, and then you're going to give it to a company that makes nothing but console and iPhone games.
What? Who knows how Warner Brothers think? These are the same guys who decided to use the Green Lantern as the launchpad for their new series with Ryan Reynolds. Who cares? Who knows how they think?
Yeah, especially obviously that film had massive redos because the mask wasn't being done properly and there was problems with
CGI.
That's different problems with the But obviously I'm not alone with this. Obviously, as I'm joined by my right-hand man, Mr. Ciaran.
I am the Knight.
And the man who Martyn and me have spent many, many hours on podcasts and after shows from Dropkick Radio talking about the Batman games and talking about video games in general. But he's here to talk about the Batman game because I know obviously he was a big, big fan. And I know Martyn's got his own mini rant about Batman Arkham Knight because he ordered a collector's edition that I don't think you ever received, did you?
Oh, no, I've got it now. It did arrive, but yeah, it was delayed, which was very annoying.
Yours was the figure, was it the action or the statue or the figure that they had to can the week before release, didn't they? Because apparently the molds were wrong or something.
No, it was there was a Batmobile one that was canned 3 days before release. They've just completely deleted the idea of that coming out now, so everyone got a refund.
That was the molds one, wasn't it? That was the one where they said a week beforehand the molds weren't working properly, so they couldn't die cast them, whatever it was.
Yeah, and then the statue one, I got a letter on Saturday, an email. It should have been shipped on Saturday, and that was the day that I got an email to say, sorry, there's a problem with the box, and we can't securely ship it to you without damaging the steelbook because the box is a little bit too shaky. So I phoned him up and asked him what it meant, and he went, oh, there's just a little bit of problem with the packaging. Either the statue will break or your steelbook will get damaged. So we're not happy with it, so we're going to push it back for 3 weeks. As it turns out, they actually sent it about 10 days later, which isn't a big deal, but it's very annoying to only find out on the date. Amazon.co.uk.
Well, what a shock.
Yeah, it's just very annoying that they only told them on the Wednesday. It wasn't Amazon's fault. It was actually Rocksteady and Triforce. It was them who should have been providing the boxes to Amazon for them to then ship out. Amazon just send it out in a massive cardboard box. I mean, the box that Amazon sent to me was about 4 foot tall and 3 foot wide. It was fucking huge, just full of packing paper. But the actual one from Rocksteady and Triforce, that was the one that was a problem. And apparently it was the actual padding inside that the statue's in. It's got a little carved out section where the steelbook goes, and that steelbook was constantly getting smashed around or breaking through the box and damaging the statue.
Well, to be fair, at least the stuff wasn't going to get damaged.
Yeah, they did eventually sort it. It's just
annoying with the delay, but when you actually think about it, it's kind of probably for the best.
Yeah, and it was good because they gave me a free downloadable version of it anyway, so I was still able to play it on the day of release, but it did take a while.
Question for everybody: how much did you pay for the game overall?
What for Arkham Knight?
For Arkham Knight. We talked about this on day of release because I think I vaguely remember talking to you on Skype in my car.
Yes.
I do not condone that, ladies and gentlemen. We were just doing a wee social experiment.
On Steam, they had listed Batman Arkham Knight for $35.99 because they normally do, whenever a big AAA game gets released, they normally do like a 10% off discount pre-order up until release. So it's generally retailed at $39.99, but it was $35.99. Or you could buy the premium edition, which was Batman plus the season pass for £61 or £62. I know a very good website for PCs called Kingwin.com. I was able to buy the Harley Quinn DLC, the premium edition of Batman, which is the season pass, and the Batman Arkham Knight game for a grand total of £21.
Martin?
I brought the collector's edition, so I paid out my arse for it, so I paid $75.
I got the game and the season pass with the PS4 exclusive Red Hood, Harley Quinn, and Scarecrow mission mapped for a grand total of 18 quid.
Yes, but can you tell the people how you got it down to 18 quid?
Okay. Trade-in of Tomb Raider on PS3, Injustice Gods Among Us Collector's Edition or Ultimate Edition on PS3, Lego Batman 3 and Little Big Planet 3, all 10% increase at game for trade-ins, £15 gift card, and my game card.
I don't think this counts because that's counting like oh yeah, well I traded stuff in. Well, fair enough then. I won an iPhone 6 a few weeks ago. I sold that for £380. Technically, I got paid £305 to have Batman.
So
it doesn't matter how I got. It doesn't matter how I got it. I only paid 17 quid for it, so I'm quite happy. And I'm just waiting on I'm just waiting patiently on the DLC to be released because anybody who knows, the first batch of DLC is
July 14th.
Please,
July 14th, and it's done by Warner Brothers, so it's done by the people who did Arkham Origins rather than the people who did Arkham Knight.
Anybody who knows me knows that Barbara Gordon is one of my favourite Batman characters. So
you're waiting for the DLC. You're waiting for the DLC. I'm waiting for an active game that works.
Yes, James.
So,
right. Jack Daniels there so we can get drunk and going.
Okay, if you want. So how do you want to do it? Should we talk about Arkham Knight first, or should we sort of go backstory and lead up to Arkham Knight? What would you prefer?
I think backstory is probably the best way to go.
So,
breezy.
So, bearing in mind, Batman Arkham Asylum was a game that nearly never got made. Because at the time, in 2008, they released, obviously, the new Dark Knight film with Heath Ledger as Joker. And there was actually a collusion between EA and Warner Bros., I want to say, that we were actually going to make a movie tie-in game. Now, due to unfair circumstances or whatever happened, the game effectively got cancelled. And a year later, Batman: Arkham Asylum came. Now, obviously, that's not a game that was made in a year. I'm pretty sure there was, probably pre-development and all that as well. But Batman: Arkham Asylum effectively became the new Batman game, and Rocksteady to this point really were an unknown company. I believe they'd only made one game prior to that, which, if I can bring it up right now, was Urban Chaos Riot Response, which was. Let's have a look.
That was a PS2 game, if I was right.
First-person shooter video game developed by Rocksteady Studios. In the game, the main character is Nick Mason, a member of the newly formed T-Zero Riot Response Squad, in an unnamed modern American city that's been overtaken by the notorious Burners gang. The gang members, armed with machetes, Molotov bombs, and firearms, are attacking civilians, paramedics, firefighters, and police officers, and it's up to him to stop them. He must defeat them by whatever means necessary in order to protect the city. Do you know what this sounds like? It sounds like the old State of Emergency games.
It does.
Very much.
By the way, I'm just going to be, before we continue on, I'm just going to apologise, because if I keep turning my head to the right-hand side, it's because I'm watching the Novak Djokovic game on the telly.
Yes.
So I apologise for that.
So we go into Batman: Arkham Asylum, and many people were obviously a bit skeptical because, as with many superhero games, there was never really any good superhero games ever made. It was sort of, there was the odd ones on the old sort of the SNES and sort of 1990s, but there was never really a decent Batman game.
There has never ever been a decent Batman game. There have been some decent superhero games. I would arguably say that the two Spider-Man games that were on the PlayStation 1 were quite good games.
But we get into Arkham Asylum, and obviously,
nobody argues that point.
We get into Arkham Asylum, obviously, first thing you find out, it's, a star-studded cast. Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill, Kimberly Brooks as Oracle, Tom Kane as James Gordon. So you've got a very, very high-list cast.
It was pretty much the entire cast from the animated show, pretty much.
Yeah. So you had an idea that, okay, maybe it's a bit serious here. It's not usual that a second or third party developer would get such high caliber talent. So they get this, and they finally release Arkham Asylum, and within about a week of it being released, everybody who was either a comic book fan or a video game fan turned around and went, "You have to play this game." And this game obviously set off the events for what would be the Arkham trilogy. Obviously, we've got to bring up the elephant in the room. Probably the worst boss battle, or one of the worst boss battles in recent video game memory, with a Titanfall Joker.
If you can see it, I am face palming. That boss battle.
Shall we just skip past that one? Because it's not.
Can we also say that there's some of the I like Scarecrow in Arkham Asylum.
In Asylum, Scarecrow's at his best.
I argue that point because I think he's the best in Asylum, but I'll explain my reasons later on.
No, that's what I just said. I think he's at best in Asylum.
No, I think he's best. Best in Night. Sorry, best in Night. I'll explain that later on.
He looks the best in Arkham Knight. The Scarecrow character model in Arkham Knight is fucking terrifying.
Oh yeah,
that is one of the best.
Oh, the design on that is amazing.
That is one of the best character models I have seen in games. Full stop. That is an amazing character design.
I know we're going to get into spoiler territories for both Arkham Asylum and Arkham Knight here, but have you read his character profile in Arkham Knight?
Who? The Scarecrow?
Scarecrow's.
Yeah.
The fact that his mask is like surgically grafted to his jaw after what happens to him in Asylum, that is amazing.
I wonder if that is an homage to the what was the New 52 storyline where Joker rips off his own face and
Death of the Family.
I wonder if that's homage to that, because that was a massive arc in the Batman story for a while, wasn't it?
It was. We'll go into, obviously we'll talk about like references to New 52 and everything like that later on, but Asylum is a really good game. Asylum is probably the best linear game out of the series because it's the only
I'd say
linear game out of the series.
I'd say Asylum is the best Batman game of the series, mainly because whereas City and Night and Origins obviously expanded the Gotham or Arkham City world. Arkham Asylum was
They're open world game. That's the reason
but
why.
Arkham Asylum captured what Batman is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be about brooding, big world, open world events. It's supposed to be about Batman in a tight, confined space, trying to effectively escape or solve this effective riddle. And I think that Arkham Asylum, to me, flows brilliantly. The fact that this was the first game to have a fight combination meter like it does, and you now see Assassin's Creed use it. You see all these massive AAA games using the fighting mechanisms from Arkham Asylum.
That's because it was
a
the
lot.
best combat engine for years. It was the best combat engine that was ever been put to game, I think.
I'd also argue that whereas Arkham City, again, big fan of Arkham City, but I think it got too within itself by just having to have, oh, we've got to have this enemy, we've got to have this enemy, we've got to have this enemy, we've got to have this enemy. Yes, there were a lot of enemies in Arkham Asylum, but they all made sense.
If you think about the actual game of Arkham Asylum, you get the first boss battle with Bane. Bane, obviously, the Venom sets up for the Titan formula. You do have the sneak about with Harley Quinn, which is fair enough. You've also got who was the next one after that?
You had Victor. You had Victor Zaz right at the start of the game.
Zaz. You had Zaz. I don't think the next one until after that was until Ivy, was it?
In Arkham Asylum, it went. Zaz, Harley Quinn,
Bane
again.
Is it? It might have been Croc.
No, because it was Poison Ivy. Because you go to Poison Ivy first, and you do a mini boss battle with her. Then you have to go to Killer Croc to get the spore. Then you go back to Poison Ivy to do the second part of her fight.
And then it's Joker. Titan Joker. Less said about that, the better. But it's a very all the boss battles in that go in a specific order that they should go in, which is fair. That's what they should do.
And each boss battle, I know it sounds weird, but with each boss battle, it makes you feel like you've accomplished something because it's like, right, I've just got to pass this next segment of the story, and it leads up to.
Go on.
I was saying it leads up to like Act 2, Act 3, Act 4, or however many acts you personally think it goes to.
It's also the fact that you can't beat the same boss the same way. Which
that's very true. That is very true.
You can't beat Bane the same way that you beat the Titan or the Titan goons. You can't beat Ivy the same way that you beat Killer Croc. You can't beat the Joker the same way that you beat Poison Ivy. The
ending of Arkham Asylum basically ends with, obviously, you capture Joker, and Joker ends up becoming completely overrun by Titan. And because he's overrun by Titan, it destroys the internals of his body, and it puts him into shutdown mode. And they allude to the fact at the end of Arkham Asylum that Joker could be on the verge of death.
It's also
the end of the game.
There's also the hidden Easter egg with Quincy Sharp where he is already planning this mega prison expansion to Arkham. And you need to find the specific Easter egg that it is there.
Yeah, and also in the post-credit scene as well, you actually get to see a create a Titan formula in the sea with a hand, obviously.
The Scarecrow's hand.
It's not always Scarecrow; it can be Bane or Killer Croc as well.
Yes.
I find it funny when people get Killer Croc because he only appears in one more game. Well, he does appear in. He does appear in Origins, but only for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, obviously Gary and me have spoken about Arkham Asylum. Obviously, we'll get your thoughts, Martin. Obviously, you know, I've known you to be a big Batman fan, you know, for a good few years now. So what was your thoughts when you played to Arkham Asylum the first time then?
See, contrary to what Ciaran said about not having a good Batman game prior to this, I'd never felt that way. There's been terrible Batman games, don't get me wrong, but I remember playing Batman, the game based on the original movie on the Amiga. I used to love it. I used to love driving around in the Batmobile on it. Thought that was great. The ones based on the animated series on the SNES, I thought they were great as well. I had no problem with it. And Batman Returns on the SNES as well. Then there was crap like Batman Forever, which was done with full motion video. It was just god awful, and there's plenty of others that were terrible. There was also
Batman and Robin.
Yeah, Batman and Robin. I didn't mind that. Batman Begins on the
Batman and Robin
Xbox.
so much.
Batman Begins on the Xbox also wasn't a terrible game. It actually played quite well on the feel levels of how you managed to take down the bad guys. So, you know, I thought there'd been some good starting points for a Batman game, but there'd never been one that really captured the whole essence of Batman. So when I saw Asylum coming out, saw who was working on it with Paul Dini, as we mentioned, like you said, guys working from the animated series. I mean, Paul Dini was instrumental in bringing characters like Harley Quinn into the animated series. He's also done some great work with Grant Morrison during the comic book run that Grant Morrison did that lasted like 7 or 8 years. So, you know, he's very, very high up there on the Batman charter of delivering great stories. So the fact he was working on it, that got me excited. Rocksteady, I didn't know them, but at the same time, I also didn't think, oh, these guys have only ever made crap before, because they hadn't had enough time to actually get anything under their feet. So I was interested, so I did follow it for a while. The more I followed it, the more I liked it, and when it came out, yeah, I was fascinated by it. I thought it was amazing straight off. Like you guys mentioned, the combat was great. The boss battles were good because they were constantly different. And to my mind, as James mentioned, it's probably, out of all of the games, the most Batman of the games. I mean, Batman does brood around on top of gargoyles in his city. He does glide around in his cape, although not nearly as much as he's made out to in Arkham City and Arkham Knight. And yeah, obviously he drives his Batmobile around, but he's at his best when he's basically a serial killer who doesn't kill. He stalks his prey. So the fact that he gets to stalk his prey throughout this, I thought was great. Doing his predator missions, everything about it, to me, just encapsulated everything that Batman should be. Obviously, great cast of characters throughout as well, with nods to various characters who we didn't get to see, such as Catwoman in this game. But we did get lots of fan favourites. Obviously, we've got Bane, got Joker, got Harley Quinn. And then you get characters who not everyone would know, like Zaz. So, you know, they were drawing on a rich history. They gave lots of little teases as to what was going on. And as I mentioned, to me, it was my favourite version of Scarecrow. Not my best looking version of Scarecrow, but I just enjoyed how Scarecrow was employed in this. I liked how he changed everything around you. Changed the intro so you get carted in instead of the Joker getting carted in.
Oh, I love that. That's the only unskippable cutscene in the entire game, isn't it?
Do you know what's even more hilarious, right? You know when the game freezes and it does the and it freezes, that is what your Xbox 360 would do if you got the Red Rings of Death.
I remember having that. I remember seeing the Red Rings of Death on Xbox. I was like, no, not again!
Because that actually became a massive story on the internet for a couple of days because people genuinely thought that Batman was killing their console.
Yeah, and there were a lot of people who turned it off.
Yeah, it got to that point. A lot of people were turning off their consoles, thinking that at that point in the game that Batman bricked their consoles, and I think Rocksteady actually had to release an announcement going, "No, it's part of the game." There's two things I love about this game, or because of this. Number one, have you ever heard of the story that apparently they released like a comic or they released like a subsection of Batman where they made it as though what would actually happen if Batman existed in real life and like the people he hit, and he was basically saying like the people he knocked out, there'd be one person that'd be having to have reconstructive surgery, and was it or he had PTSD, or was having to have mental evaluation for like the next 30 years of his life because he's got like a spinal fracture. The other one I also love was, and I remember, I think Martyn and me and Jeremy spoke about this when we were talking about Arkham Knight. Arkham Asylum has the greatest Easter egg in human history. So great, the developers had to tell you that it was in the game.
Yeah, that's what Ciaran just referenced. The plans that he had to build
Yeah.
Arkham City.
But the fact that the development company has to tell the players, oh, by the way, we hid this in there, because I believe also it came out, was it the build, or the Quincy Sharp area wasn't actually found until 6 months after Arkham City was released.
Yeah.
That says a lot. I mean, can you ever think of a game that's had an Easter egg that has been that well hidden for, effectively 2 games?
Yeah, in fairness, to find that, you would have to go around with the explosive gel trying to blow up every single wall that doesn't show up as an explodable wall. So it'd take you quite a while to do it, even if you were sure it was there and you just weren't sure of the location. But yeah, it was quite well hidden.
That to me is the greatest Easter egg in human history because nobody found it.
Until they told you about it.
Yeah, I can't think of any other company that has told people about, oh, there's an Easter egg there. Can you please go and find it? We've worked ever so hard trying to hide it. We hid it too well. So
we hid it too well. Help us.
So we move on to Arkham City, as that was the next game. It's the next game in the Arkham in Rocksteady's release, but it's the 3rd game in chronological order. Confusing, isn't it? So
not really. It's not as confusing as the Fast and Furious series. We have 1 and 2, and then 3 is technically the 8th or the 6th movie in the series.
And that's not even counting Tokyo Drift and all the spin-offs.
No, that's including Tokyo Drift.
So we get into Arkham City, and the big thing about Arkham City was rather than it being set directly in one set place, and it was basically just a giant set piece, it was now being taken place under an open world format, under this thing called Arkham City, which was basically a supermax prison where rather than trying to keep them in an asylum or in Blackgate, it was basically to block off an entire part of a city. That's where all the enemies and all the bad guys go now.
It's kind of like Mega City 1 from Judge Dredd.
Yeah,
isn't it?
And in this game, the close-knit combat and stealth elements were kind of taken away in more of an open world sandbox kind of. You can fly around Gotham City and you can actually sort of see crimes taking place in terms of, maybe people smashing up windows and that, but you can go down and you can attack the thugs. And the big thing about this one, obviously, was it carried over the Arkham Asylum story, which was, Joker has now poisoned himself with Titan, and because he's poisoned himself so badly, he's now dying. And the only way that Joker can get a cure is by injecting his blood into Batman, because then he knows that Batman will go out of his way to find a cure. So now Batman is poisoned. And also, one thing I want to bring up as well, I read this a couple of days ago. Have you realised in every single Batman Arkham game, he is poisoned to the point where he nearly dies?
Yes. He's poisoned in Origins by Copperhead.
Yep.
He's injected with the Titan formula in Asylum.
Yep.
And Scarecrow via toxin in Asylum as well.
Yep.
He's injected with Joker's blood in City.
Yep.
And it spoils for Asylum again, ladies and gentlemen, but you know this is going to happen. Via toxin again in Knight, and he's also still feeling the effects of Joker's blood.
So yes, in every single Batman game, he's effectively poisoned and nearly killed, which I think is quite funny, actually.
Right. Here's a question for you. Is the Arkham Knight teaser trailer with Hugo Strange the best teaser trailer ever for a game?
At the moment, to me, the Deus Ex Mankind Divided is the best trailer at the moment.
God damn you, James. I just love that Hugo Strange trailer so much because it captures his character so well. especially for a character in the game who you do not actually technically fight.
The thing is also as well as Batman Arkham City, this was the first game that actually acknowledged Bruce Wayne as not only the Batman, but acknowledged Bruce Wayne as a philanthropist and a separate person, effectively.
Because
in Arkham Asylum, they never made mention that Bruce Wayne was Batman, did they? They made mention with like old Bruce and all this, but they never publicly came out and said, "Oh, Bruce Wayne is Batman," did they? They made it. It's that kind of. It was that kind of. If you know, then you know. But obviously, it's not the biggest secret in the world.
It's kind of because of the fact that everybody knows it. It's kind of like how everybody knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
True, but I think I mean, granted, obviously, with Hugo Strange in the Project 10, the whole point was, I know your secret, and because now I know your secret, I will expose you if you try and bring me down.
Try and stop that.
But I just found it quite interesting, like with Arkham Knight, where they basically go, no, the Joker is dead. They basically sort of hit you over the head in Arkham City by going, no, Bruce Wayne is Batman.
Not really, because with the exception of the first little while in the game, the first 10-15 minutes, when you're introduced to the area of the prison, it's kind of not there. Like, Strange doesn't really mention it all that often. He still calls you Batman.
Also,
Raz knows his secret identity as well. Talia knows it. Talia is the only one who will actively call him Bruce, with the exception of Alfred. But Ra's will call you Detective, because Ra's al Ghul Ra's al Ghul doesn't see Batman or Bruce Wayne as Batman. He sees Batman as his own different person, which is kind of how Batman should be seen. Because Bruce Wayne, much like Clark Kent for Superman, is the actual mask. And James is going to be... but that's kind of like the idea that I like about it, is the fact that Bruce Wayne kind of takes the backseat to Batman after the first 15 minutes. Would you agree with that, Martyn?
Yeah, I'd completely agree with you. I don't know what James is really going on about, sort of the idea that they're smacking it over your head. I mean, there's no reason for you to mention it. In Arkham Asylum, they're not mentioning it because the only person who you really talk to is Alfred, who talks to you constantly.
Alfred and Oracle.
Yeah, it's like there's not a great deal there to be done, but by the time that Arkham City rolls around, you get the feeling that Batman's more at home now. He's got more people who he has to worry about, so it's more of a personal thing. So yeah, you've got the interaction with Bruce Wayne at the start, where you get to do what you do with Bruce, and then as the game carries on and more stuff happens, then you get them talking, Bruce, you've got to consider this, Bruce, you've got to consider that, because they're talking to him as a human being rather than as this figure of justice in the city, because he's got to think about more than just his own personal vendettas against people like the Joker and Hugo Strange.
Would you agree that in especially in City, as the game goes on, as Batman, you start the game kind of invincible, don't you, in a way? Even like you're in the suit, it's like nobody can touch me. But as the game goes on, as the Joker venom the Joker poisoning starts to take its toll, you start to feel a little bit more human. It's kind of like any moment in this game could actually be your last.
Yeah.
Especially as the enemies start getting more and more elaborate, like Titan or Tiger Guards who have got stun gun or stun sticks and riot shields, and the big brawling brawlers who you can't actually take down with one hit. You actually have to go into beatdown mode on them. I kind of like that idea.
I do. I really enjoy it. I like the idea that, like, you can come from playing Arkham Asylum and you think, I'm a master of this game. I know how to do these combos. I can take down 15 guards in one go. And when you first start out the game, that's exactly how you continue to feel. Oh, I've got 12 guards coming at me at once. I'll do a 27-hit combo, wipe everyone out. Yes, I am the Batman. I am the Knight. I'm amazing. And then
I am vengeance. I am the Knight.
The next thing you know, like you say, you've got a stun stick, you've got people with shields, you've got people charging at you across the map and knocking you over. You're finding yourself having to attack them with a cape, go into beatdown mode, but while you're doing that, a guard with a shield will attack you from behind. You've got the people with the guns shooting at you whilst you're trying to do this. And suddenly, very, very quickly dawns on you that, crap, I need to rethink my tactics. And the fact that these people are introduced slowly one by one, it's like just as you get used to figuring out a strategy to get rid of one guy, there's a new guy who you have to get past. It's very
especially
hard.
the fact that you can't just go in all guns blazing now, and it even happens in the Predator missions where it's like, oh, swing from gargoyle to gargoyle, inverted takedowns on guards, that's you, Bob's your uncle, you're done. No, you can't do that throughout the game. You have guys who can now see you on the gargoyles. You have guys who block your detective vision. You have guys who mine the gargoyles. And then it's got stuff like that. You can't play the game. That's the reason why I love Arkham City so much, because of the fact you can't keep playing the game the same way.
Yeah, in many ways.
You have to incorporate all the gadgets you get during the game. You have to incorporate all the skills that you purchase. You have to incorporate different tactics for different opponents.
Yeah, in many ways, it's what, to me, makes Arkham City possibly the best game out of all of them. I think an argument could be made, this is very unique with the Arkham series, really, an argument could be made for any of the three main games to possibly be the best game in the series for various reasons.
I hope James will explain this theory to James this point to James when he comes back. But the thing with the games is that they're all very different in a lot of ways. Arkham City, or Arkham Asylum, is a very linear game with some open world elements to it that you can go to different areas, you can find riddles, you can find the trophies and everything like that. But then you go to Arkham City where you've got a little bit more free reign, you can do whatever you want in a lot of ways. But you're still stuck to the main story. It's a more open world game, but at the same time, it's still kind of linear. And then you have Arkham Knight, where it's a completely open world game. You don't have to stick to the main story, unless it forces you to, like in specific parts of the Riddler missions, where you kind of have to have a specific gadget in order to complete a puzzle.
Yeah, I mean, Rocksteady should definitely be credited for that. They have. Because when you look at Arkham Knight, just on the basis of it, it looks so incredibly similar to Arkham City. Apart from
it does, but
in the Batmobile.
I think
they have changed it. You've made it so, as you rightfully say, it's open world pretty much. Once you start the main story, especially once you've opened up all of the islands like Miagani Island and you've got the bridges connected, you can pretty much do almost all of the game without bothering to go to the next level of attacking Scarecrow. The only real thing you need to do is with the Riddler. Like you say, you have to get specific gadgets or need to be so far through the story that he puts new riddles on the map. So you can't quite complete the Riddler until the game's done.
And I also like how even within the open world, you still need to upgrade the Batmobile. You still have to upgrade your suit. By the end of the game, you should have everything maxed out in order to complete things.
Yeah, by the end of the game, it's not just a Batmobile, it's a tank. It's pretty much Batman's a tank in his own right.
Yeah.
You've got absolutely every strength that you need, every gadget, you can do everything. And like you say, without doing it, you are going to struggle. It does feel like every little level up that you use is required for some reason. It's not just doing it to make the game easier, it's doing it because it's essential.
And as we said, I think it's especially true of Arkham Knight. You need to think about different ways of completing different challenges, like checkpoints, for example, in Arkham Knight, where you can't sneak in anymore. There's points where you can do it where you can sneak in, take out every single guard, and that's that. Then you've got ones where you have to think a little bit smartly, and it's like, right, there's a massive turret there. If I go in there, I'm going to die. I need to figure out a way of getting the Batmobile in there.
Yeah. See, this where I kind of have the slightest problem with Arkham Knight. As much as I love it, I like the idea that things change. I did think that sometimes being able to access the Batmobile at almost any available time made it incredibly easy to just have the Batmobile there to take out guards. There was various little checkpoints that I had to do where I sent in the Batmobile, pretty much killed everyone, and then just went in to attack the last two. And fair enough, you should be able to do that. It's part of the game. But I don't like Batman using a tank.
I like the idea that he's using a tank because of the fact that it's still the one thing that people were complaining about is especially with the tanks, especially with all the drones. People thought that they were manned drones. And it's like Batman is definitely killing people in this. And then they go out of their way to establish, no, they're drones. They're drones. He's not going to kill anybody.
When he runs over people as well, he jolts them with an electric shock to make sure that
so he doesn't actually kill them.
Yeah. It's just, like I say, the tank just seems a little bit overkill to me sometimes. And the way that the way I
explained it to people when it comes to the Batmobile, I do like the Batmobile. I like going against the drones. I like testing myself against the drones in this Wii game of Mark It or this Wii game of Miss Me, and then I'm just going to blow you up. The problem is, it feels, the way I explained it to people, it feels like playing Last of Us, where you have this sort of like this first-person stealth sort of thing where you can't go in all guns blazing, otherwise you're going to die. And then it kind of shifts into this completely different game. It's kind of like having Last of Us, and then at certain points of the game, it shifts into a first-person shooter sort of thing, like Call of Duty, where you just keep shooting people. It's kind of like I don't like that.
No,
it kind of takes you out of the game a wee bit.
Yeah. See, there's with the side missions, the most wanted missions. My favourite ones really were like the APC missions, where you basically just chase them in the Batmobile. Yeah. I like that. To me, that was the Batmobile. I
love sideswiping the ones that are coming up beside you and just watching slow mo as they crash. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's like playing Burnout. I like that.
My personal favourite, I've got a couple. I like the Two-Face ones. I like the bank ones.
Yes, the bank ones were very reminiscent of Arkham Asylum. They were great.
Because it is technically a Predator mission, but you don't have to be stealthy. You can swing around, you can smash people to bits, and then it switches back into a proper out-and-out Predator mission. I'm like, okay. And I also like the Penguin ones. I like the Penguin, like, you chase after them, and it's like, that's how Batman would operate, and then you get in there and you can switch into Nightwing, because, again, one of my favourite characters is Dick Grayson. I love Nightwing as a character, not just in Batman, but in his own right, and you can just beat people up with nightsticks, and I'm like, yes!
Yeah, getting to fight with someone else I thought was done very well in this game. So getting to fight with Dick Grayson, like you, I enjoyed it.
It kind of fooled you into thinking it was a bit of co-op, didn't it? When you see the initial trailer, it's like, oh, you can do co-op, and it's like, you don't really. It's still a first-person game, or it's still a single-player game, which is fine by me, but at the same time, I kind of wish that there was a little bit more co-op in there, because I like the idea of being able to go into my pals and say, oh, do you want to play Arkham Knight? Let's load it up and have a look, and go about Gotham finding people to beat up, pretty much.
Yeah. I'd love to be able to do Arkham Knight in co-op, to be honest.
I would as well.
It's kind of a shame you can't, but I'm no doubt some genius on the PC will release.
It's kind of shit that it doesn't, but at the same time, I kind of like that it doesn't. It kind of like you still rely on your own skill as a player to be able to win, to be able to beat it.
Yeah, first and foremost, I'm just incredibly happy that Rocksteady went, no, this is a single-player game. We'll focus 100% of our resources onto that, and didn't waste time with a secondary team making a co-op version, because they'd have just lost so much.
We'll go back to
with the most wanting missions a sec.
Yeah.
One person who I did like chasing down on it as well was Professor Pig.
Oh yes, I love Pig, especially because of the fact that you can. I know how that the most wanted missions, you can still find them in a specific order, but there's also points where it gets to the point in the game where it's like the intel's given to you. Yeah. So it's kind of like that's how I operated a lot of the things as well. It's kind of like I waited for the intel to come to me because I was like, I'm far too busy doing other things to go around looking for bodies in a lot of ways. But then I found one, and I was like, okay, so I don't have to wait for intel. I can go out and find the bodies in a lot
I
of
like
ways.
that.
Because it kind of makes you feel a bit. The whole tagline of the game was "Be Batman," and that's what Batman would do. He would go out and scour the city and try and find these bodies, but end up getting caught in other things. But going back to City, the overall story of City. What did you think of it? And I think I'm on my own again. You still there, Martin? Well, everybody, it looks like I am on my own for the moment. So, you get to see me sitting around brooding in the darkness. Hey, look, I'm Batman. But, and Martin's dropped out the call. That makes things so much easier, and I'm still waiting on James. So, trying to think of what I can actually talk about here. Because I don't have James or Martin to bounce off of. And I am not on the Skype holder, so I can't actually. And here comes James. James, help us!
What's happened?
Martin's dropped out of the call.
Right.
Literally in the last 2 minutes. I have no idea why.
So,
Right, to fill you in on what we were talking about, we kind of went off on a tangent of we were talking about how early, like as I said earlier, Arkham Asylum is a very linear game. You're set. This is where you have to go next. You can go to other parts of the asylum, but at the same time, you've got the fixed point where you have to go to advance the story. In City, you still got the linear style of gameplay, but you still have the open world style to it as well. You don't have to.
You can do it kind of in any order you want in a way.
Yeah, but there's specific points that are opened up to you as the story progresses. So you can't do a Mr. Freeze mission where you try and find Nora without beating Mr. Freeze to begin with. In a lot of ways.
This was the game also as well. If you're wondering what I'm pouring, you could probably hear in the background. I am actually
Jack
pouring
Daniels.
myself Jack Daniels. But
We're getting ready for the drunken rant.
But I think Arkham City was the first game to do it, because I know Arkham Knight done it as well, which was it lets you get so far up a mission and then it stops you because it obviously cuts off to the point where it says no, you've got to get past chapter 5 or
you
act
have
5
to have a
of the game.
specific gadget or something like that in order to do it. Yeah, that's what me and Martin were saying. But I think Arkham Knight especially is more open world in a lot of ways. You don't have to do the main Scarecrow story or you can go and do the Watchtowers. You can do the Batmobile chase missions. You can do the Scarecrow missions, the Two-Face missions. You can do the Penguin missions once they're opened up to you.
I think the thing with me is Arkham City, it felt like there was that you had to do the side missions if you wanted to have the best possible chance of completing the game, whereas with Arkham Knight, it's the side missions are side missions, then they have no relevance to the actual story, effectively.
Until the very end.
Yeah. Like, you could effectively you can probably whiz through Arkham Knight doing nothing but that main mission, and you could probably complete that game in about 6 hours, maybe 5 6 hours.
Probably. And then you've
If
got the additional side story. Yeah, and you've got the additional side stories on the side.
but whereas for me,
But,
Arkham City, the side missions in my eyes were what's the word? They were so crucial to the game plot, effectively.
There's one thing I'm going to say, and it's particularly true when you complete the story in a lot of ways. In Arkham Knight, have you beaten the game yet, James?
Yeah,
Despite how buggy it is.
yeah. No, I've completed.
You know how when you beat, right? You know how you beat the game. Have you gone back to doing like side stories with stuff like Two-Face and Penguin after the reveal? After the reveal at the end.
I completed all the side missions before I went to do the final part of the game.
Within the last, if you complete the game without doing all the side missions to activate the Nightfall Protocol, the villains start talking to you as they would after hearing the news.
So they would start referring to you as Bruce and...
Yes. For anybody who hasn't completed the story, again, spoilers here, Batman is unmasked at the end of Arkham Knight.
Which, in my eyes, is a very, very bold move.
It's a very ballsy move.
Because it basically does confirm they can't make another Batman game now. Under that trilogy, I should say, under that series.
Do you know the minute that... Oh, we're going to go into the story here for a second. You know when you meet up with Gordon?
Towards
the end of the game.
To do Nightfall
Towards
Protocol.
the end. No. You know towards the end of the main story, you've beaten Red Hood. Or you've beaten Arkham Knight. And then you meet up with Gordon and you're going up in the left.
Yeah.
And he says he calls you Bruce.
Mm.
Did that set off a massive warning flag to you? I'm like, wait, you shouldn't know that. I know you can kind of work it out overall, but it's like that's a massive warning flag to me. It's like you shouldn't know that. You wouldn't.
The way
he calls you.
It's
the way he says it.
The way they've always done the Gordon Batman, I don't want to say relationship in just Batman in general. It's always been a case that Gordon knows, but just doesn't actively say it because he knows what would happen if the public found out. So the way I saw it is, I think it was he was finally alone with Batman. He's the only one in the lift between him and Batman, so he can sort of press. You can press the arm and say, "Bruce, poke." See if he gets.
I kind of see. That's the way a lot of people have looked at it, but at the same time, I don't look at it that way. I've always looked at it as Gordon has always had his suspicion that it's Bruce Wayne, but he's never actively went out of his way to find out that it's Bruce Wayne because it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see it. It's kind of like, but as I've said at the beginning, Batman is Batman, Bruce Wayne is the mask, so it wouldn't matter either way. So the fact that he calls him Bruce in the left, I had like immediately I went, wait, that's a massive warning sign. There's a massive warning sign. Who would know that? Who would tell him that? And then you get the reveal that Gordon has been forced to help Scarecrow bring you to him in a lot of ways in order to save Barbara.
I don't know if you want to turn on your light because you're basically in pitch black there.
I'm Batman.
But I mean, let's get into Arkham Origins then, because obviously that was
my Spider-Man poster.
Yep, that was the next game in the franchise. This was because Arkham Knight was being delayed so much because Rocksteady wanted to make the perfect Batman, which we'll get to, but they wanted to make the perfect Batman. Warner Brothers wanted, sort of a biannual Batman game, so they released Arkham Origins in conjunction with Iron Galaxy Studios, and Arkham Origins is before Arkham Asylum, and it sets up everything that happens at Blackgate Prison, sets up the first initial attacks on Gotham, which sets up the opening or reopening of Arkham Asylum. This is the game that if you go onto the MMR YouTube page, I played through. So you can actually see me play through Arkham Origins. And
I joined you for a couple of videos on that, didn't I, James?
I think it was part 2 I think you joined me for.
Like you just said I joined you for a couple of videos, James. God damn you! Getting on, go on.
I think it gets a lot of shtick. It's a solid game. Yeah, it's not the best game, obviously. I think, as Ciaran and me have said, obviously in the pre-show, that I think the problem was, I think most people expected it to be a Rocksteady game, and it wasn't. It was clearly a Warner Brothers game, but it's a very solid game. I think the standout moment for me was the addition of the crime analysis scenes. To me,
yes.
that is what Batman is. Obviously, not don't obviously include the brooding character and all that as well. But the whole point is,
it's the fact that Batman is a detective. Batman's superpower is the fact that he's the world's greatest detective.
Exactly. And in the first 2 Batman games we've had with Arkham City and Arkham Asylum, it was never really insinuated. It was never
there.
It was
there
never,
at points.
It was never insinuated as a detective. It's just a case of I smell some whiskey. I'm going to follow the whiskey trail because I've got because my bat nose is amazing. Whereas in this one, it's a case of let's use the bat computer to reverse time to find out the point of impact in which somebody's head has hit the wall or to which.
Did you get that message as well?
Yeah.
It's from Martyn. For anybody who's wondering where Martyn's gone, his computer is blown up.
But we go on. But what I loved about Arkham Origins with that was every single time that they did a crime scene detection thing, it was always different. So for the first one, you'd be wondering, you're trying to find out where was the guy's head hit on the concrete wall, and then the second one, when you were looking at Black Mask's apartment, you had to work out how did Black Mask die. And how did the woman get hanged on top of the chandelier? Was it in the room, wasn't it?
Yes.
And then obviously, you had the big reveal that actually Black Mask was possibly the Joker, and instead what the Joker was doing was actually making a bounty that was all for himself.
Yeah.
I'd say. I think the only thing that really bugs me about Arkham Origins is Firefly's in Arkham Origins, and then he doesn't appear until Arkham Knight, and they make no mention of Firefly throughout the entirety of the Arkham series until Arkham Knight. It's small things like that kind of bugs me.
To be fair, you can't really go back to the other Arkham games and mention him because he's clearly been brought in as this as a character who's not. He's not linked to the Batman mythos in a lot of ways. He's more of a Flash villain in a lot of ways.
It was the case of we've gone through all of our A-star talent through the first 2 games. What can we use in Arkham Origins that leads up to? Because when you get Penguin in Arkham Origins, and obviously you don't see Penguin in Arkham Asylum, but he returns in City and Night, so Penguin's there. Two-Face.
It's because Penguin. But this is the thing. The guys you're mentioning, Two-Face, Penguin, they are Batman villains. They're Batman villains in a lot of ways. Whereas you have guys like Firefly. Yes, they are technically Batman villains. But at the same time, they're also There were also villains for the Flash. There are villains for Dick Grayson. There are villains for and more villains that way.
I mean,
It's kind of like how Slade is a Slade slash Deathstroke is not an all out Batman villain. He's more of a Teen Titans villain in a lot of ways.
I think to pull Arkham Origins to the end, so we can get on to obviously what the main crux of this show is going to be all about. The end of Arkham Origins is incredibly interesting, and it's something they never brought up in Arkham Knight, did they?
No.
At the end of Arkham Origins, Amanda Waller goes to an imprisoned Deathstroke and talks to him about the Suicide Squad.
She does, but it doesn't. She does, but they don't mention it within the games because what they ended up doing was they incorporated that part of the story into the Assault on Arkham DVD movie.
And then the plan, obviously, also as well, supposedly the next game that may be in production would be in a time with the Suicide Squad film would possibly be a Suicide Squad game.
That was the initial idea,
and
but
ladies,
eventually.
and ladies and gentlemen, hopefully with technology helping out this time, Martyn should be back.
I hope so.
Yes, you are back.
Under the name Angie.
Yes, I'm under the name Angie. I've had to use my wife's laptop because my computer literally went bang and then smoke came out of it and now it won't boot up.
Scarecrow segment.
Oh, it must be.
So, obviously, Ciaran, it's your turn to have a massive problem or have something happen to you now.
That already happened earlier on, so I think we're okay.
So I mean, we were just finishing up about Arkham City and Arkham Origins, Martyn, before you get into the main crux of this show. So, any thoughts you want to bring up against City or Origins before we move on?
Well, I was having a conversation with Ciaran before someone hit my computer with a disruptor and turned it off. But yeah, Arkham City could be argued as being one of the best in the series. Arkham Origins, I think, it gets so much backlash just because it wasn't a Rocksteady game. I actually really enjoyed it. I think the story.
I really enjoyed it as well. There wasn't a point where I went and looked at the game and I was like, "This is crap."
Okay.
Sure, there's faults with it. There's some technical glitches that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. There were faults and glitches, but it didn't matter to me. The story was fine. The only thing that I didn't really like about it was fast travel. I don't think that was essential, especially since the map wasn't that huge. It was quite big, but I would have preferred not to be able to fast travel. I found myself using it, so obviously it had benefits. It seemed like something that was rushed in, really.
It's also the thing with fast travel is it is something that you do have to earn as well.
Yeah, you had to unlock it basically by doing Assassin's Creed and Far Cry style missions, climbing up towers and turning them off.
Okay. On the spot, and I'll do this as well. On the spot, rank them from 4th to 1st. So we'll go Martyn first. Rank them 4th to 1st in your preference.
Right. Okay. Noxie's a bad game, but Arkham Origins last. Then probably Arkham Knight. Then Arkham City and Arkham Asylum are kind of first. Although it's really hard because I do enjoy Arkham Knight and I could easily go to first on any given day. But just because of various issues that I'll mention at the moment, it's third for me.
Okay. Ciaran, 4th through 1st.
Right. 4th, again, it's not a bad game. It's certainly not a bad game. It's a very well made game. It's got probably my favourite boss fight in all of the Batman games in Deathstroke. But Origins is the 4th game in the list for me. It's, again, not because it's a bad game. It's because it just doesn't have that. It doesn't have the magic of the other 3. 3rd, I know you guys are going to slate me for this, but Asylum. Asylum is the third of my list. Again, not because it's a bad game, but it's because as much as I love linear stories, I do like open world a lot more. It's the reason why I like Assassin's Creed. It's the reasons why I like GTA for the same reason. I like the fact that you don't have to stick to the main story. you've kind of stuck to the main story in a lot of ways with Arkham Asylum. And now here's second is City. Second is City.
Interesting.
I love City. I love City to know it's by a whisker. It's by a whisker. It's because I love this, and here's the reason why. Everything in Night, I think, is City, but defined more. The combat is better. The Predator missions are better. I think the stories are magnificent. I think the character designs are magnificent. I think the voice casting is brilliant to no end. The fact that it's Scarecrow is probably the best he's ever been, not just in the games, not just in the story, but and in the movies as well. It's we said it in the pre-show. His character design is amazing. His character design is beautiful. I love Arkham Knight. I love the mystery of Arkham Knight until it gets to the point where it's so easy to work out, and I love the Joker in it. I love how twisted and evil the Joker is in it, because you get the Death in the Family story in there as well.
In terms of the story of Arkham Knight, I think Martyn and me will disagree with that one, but we'll get to that in a second. My 4-1, I'm going to put 4. I think it's the same as you guys. Arkham Origins, again, not a bad game. It's not the worst game. It's just, I think it tried to capture all the elements of the previous Batman games, and whilst it worked, I think it tried to do too much on its own rather than sort of play it safe.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
Number 3 for me is Arkham City.
Interesting.
Number 2 is Arkham Knight. Even though I didn't like the story, I think overall the gameplay is good from as much as I can play it in a smooth frames per second, which I'll get in a minute. And number 1 for me is Arkham Asylum. I still think Arkham Asylum is the best Batman game by far, bar none. That is, to me, that is the standard bearer of Batman games to me.
I'll explain why I think the story of Arkham Knight is magnificent. It's because of the fact that while Asylum is... Everybody knows that Arkham Asylum is based on the Arkham Asylum Serious House on Serious Earth storyline, or story, in the comics. The reason I like Arkham Knight more is because of the fact that it's Batman... How do I explain this? It feels like a definitive end to the story in a lot of ways. I feel it's kind of like the Dark Knight Rises story that should have been in a lot of ways.
I'll say one thing.
It's the end to this arc, not to the story.
Yeah, I'll say one thing quickly. If we were to rank these games based on story alone, I'd put Arkham Knight at the top, despite having some problems with some things being obvious. I agree completely that the story of Arkham Knight is fantastic and done really, really well, and definitely best incarnation we've had of the Scarecrow character.
Did Paul Dini write the story?
No, he was not involved at all. It was Rocksteady's own team who had worked on the previous games. Yeah.
That really shows how much they love Batman then, because that is fantastic.
Yeah.
I'd argue half this story is amazing. The other half is kind of a bit. It's a bit of a wet slap in the face to me, and that's
Which half?
The Scarecrow stuff is unbelievably well done.
Yes.
The Tim Gray stuff is the slap in the face to me, because it got to a point because 2 hours into the game, I figured out who it was, and then they constantly punch you in the face by going, "It's him,
Jason Todd
it's
stuff.
him,
Jason Todd stuff.
it's him, it's him," and that's all they do. They punch you in the face constantly for 7 hours, going, "It's him."
But to a lot of people who don't know the backstory of Jason Todd,
Okay, yeah.
it might not be a punch in the face. It might not be as glaringly obvious to them.
That's my one problem with the story. If you're not familiar with Jason Todd, that reveal means dick.
Yeah, the problem. I agree.
It's never been referenced in the Arkham series of games. The only tiny references are Joker once saying, "You're going to need a new sidekick," and Joker once saying, "I'll kill him too." But there's never been a proper reference that I killed this Robin, because there's never been any time
loose
frame.
References to it. There's loose references to it.
Incredibly loose, because we've never had any proper references to where Batman is in stage of which Robin is on, apart from Tim Drake appearing in Arkham City, but we didn't know at that point that he'd had Jason Todd, because in Arkham City they've only just decided to cancel the Flying Graysons thing, so it's all very, very close together without any real reference to Jason Todd. And if you're not someone who's into the comics and don't know that storyline, which, let's face it, a lot of people who go and watch the Batman films, they probably won't know those sort of stories. To them, it won't mean anything.
Here's my problem with the reveal. And stop me if you think I'm wrong here. Within Arkham Asylum and Arkham Knight, do you get the feeling that it's kind of tied to the animated story in a lot of ways? It's inspired by the animated series, especially Asylum.
I do think there's little hints towards it, yeah.
Yeah, which is the reason why I think when they introduce Tim Drake in City, that I kind of think they gloss. I was thinking to myself, right, you've had Dick Grayson, and then you've went straight to Tim Drake like you did in the animated series, because you can't tell the story of Jason Todd. You couldn't tell that story. And then you've got, what's happened is you've went, right, we're going to go with the mature story, so we can tell this story, we can be as gruesome as we need to be with it. So we're going to throw Jason Todd in.
I think the other thing also as well is, even though Rocksteady came out and said it's a completely original character, they've actually started putting them into comic books now, haven't they? They started it this year.
They did it with Asylum. They did it with City as well. They did. They filled the gap between Asylum and City with the comic book series, and they've done the same thing with Arkham Knight and Arkham City, because Arkham Knight is set 1 year after City.
Yeah, I will admit, and I do. Actually, I'll read something about this in a minute. This is something I found a couple of weeks ago, but I do agree with Martin. The thing with Jason Todd is there is no 50-50, is it? It's either you knew or you don't, and because you don't know, it makes no sense. And I think it's not a negative about it, but it means you'll either know it before it happens, or you won't know who he is.
The reason why I will defend the reveal a little bit is, yes, you get the death in the story backstory to it, but the fact that you get it and it seems like a hallucination, doesn't it? Because you feel you can't stop it. So I think if you didn't know the story of Jason Todd and you're watching that for the first time, you're watching this story for the first time, and you feel so powerless to help to stop it. It's like you're effectively seeing Robin die in this story.
Mm.
So it kind of makes you feel like it makes you hate the Joker a wee bit more, that he's slowly taking over Batman's mind.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's showing them this as this ultimate torture.
It's just a shame that by the time they get around to showing you the ultimate torture of Jason Todd through the Joker being in Batman's mind, and it's like James says, at that point it's like, this is who it is. This is definitely who Arkham Knight is. By that point it's so ingrained in you that it's kind of lost a lot of its shock. I mean,
and then another criticism I do have of the story, I think we have a lot of criticisms for this part of the story. The fact that it's painfully obvious from the beginning if you know the Jason Todd character. Yeah. Just the way the way that Arkham Knight talks, the way that he acts, it's very Jason Todd. When he comes back as the Red Hood.
The first time when you see the Arkham Knight, Alfred turns around and goes, "It's somebody that seems to know you, sir." Well, that immediately limits it down to like 5 people.
Yeah,
it limits it down substantially.
When the character was first announced and it was shown how he was going to be and everything, I said at the time when we did a podcast, I hope it's not Jason Todd. But I could tell that it was going to be Jason Todd. And I didn't really want it, purely because, to me, it seemed too obvious, which was a little bit annoying. I wanted more of a mystery.
I was the same in a lot of ways, but I kind of liked the idea it was Jason Todd because
I
like
like it. I love the Red Hood character. I will
I
keep
do.
the Red Hood character forever. I love him.
I
as
love the Jason Todd character to no end because,
Yeah,
but because of the fact that the character, what it means in the Batman mythology, it's the ultimate failure of Batman that he couldn't protect Jason, and this is what he became as a result of it.
yeah. See, now if they'd incorporated Jason Todd into Arkham City somehow, and we saw Jason Todd die, or at least got the idea that he had been kidnapped by Joker in Arkham City, and then it was like left unresolved, and we didn't know what had gone on, and then at the end, Joker says, "I killed Jason Todd." That's what leads to Batman killing Joker.
Or I killed Robin. It wasn't.
Yeah,
It shouldn't have hinted at the idea that he was. Because the whole idea of the death of the family story is Joker's not doing it to attack Bruce Wayne as a person or Bruce Wayne. He's doing it to attack Batman. He's taking Batman's son away from him.
Yeah, so
that's,
he'd said,
that's the attack.
Yeah, if we got
So it
during
doesn't
that.
matter who's under the mask.
No, if we got during that part though that he said, like we said, there was hints in the story that Jason Todd, who was the Robin at the time, had gone missing. At the end of the game, Joker says, "I've killed Robin." That leads to Batman killing Joker. Then he's got justification for killing Joker a little bit more. Then it'd play on his mind throughout all of Arkham Knight shit. I killed this man. And then it also plays into him that I killed him because it was the ultimate failure of me as a superhero because I couldn't protect the ones I love. Yeah. I think it would have had a bit more gravitas to the story. Instead, it does feel like they went, we've got the mature rating, we can tell this story now, whereas the prior held back on it.
Right. I'm going to ask this. Oh, go on, James. Go on.
I want to read this to you. This is something I found a couple of weeks ago that really puts the Arkham arc, if you want to say it, in perspective. This is going to take a couple of minutes to read through, but I want to hear your opinions after I finished it. All right?
Go on.
The events of Arkham City take place between at the earliest 1982 and at the latest early 2000s. On the wall next to the entrance to the Arkham City Processing Centre in the Bowery, there is a plaque commemorating the opening of Arkham City, dated 19th of November of some year in the 20th century. The last 3 digits of the date are unreadable, making the full year unknown. Since the event of the game took place around 4 to 6 months after Arkham City opens, the latest the game can take place is early 2000. To pinpoint the date further, in the GCP building, there is a psychological evaluation of Prometheus, dated November 12, 1982. A group of thugs can be heard outside the GCPD building discussing when it was closed. 5 years before Arkham City opened, assuming no one has been inside to update the file, the year has to be at least 1987. 5 years after Prometheus' evaluation was recorded. Furthermore, there is a weekly calendar in Arkham City, showing the month of January, which begins on a Monday. The only common year between 1982 and 2000 to begin on a Monday is 1990, and the only leap year that begins on a Monday in that time frame is 1996. Assuming the calendar is up to the date with the events in the story, that places the events of Arkham City sometime in the 1990s. Lastly, there is a tearaway calendar in Harvey Dent's campaign office in Catwoman's first mission, dated February 15th. This is quite possibly the date of Arkham City's events, as Calendar Man also mentions that the events of the game take place very near Catwoman's birthday, which is February 2nd. If the events of Arkham Origins are then taken into account, then the calendar shown in the theatrical trailer gives us more ways to pinpoint the events of Arkham City. The calendar shows Christmas is on a Wednesday, meaning it's either a common year beginning on a Tuesday or a leap year beginning on a Monday. 1968 and 1996 were the 2 closest leap years, ruling that option out, since they are both too far in the past or future to match the timeline. This leaves the common years 1985 and 1991, both of which are respectively 5 years prior to our 1990 and 1996 options. The final piece to pinpoint the exact date of the events of Arkham City exists in the Cold Heart DLC for Arkham Origins. In the Gothcop fueling prep area, there is a weekly calendar that begins on a Monday. Given that the only year between 1982 and 2000 that begins on a Monday is at 1990, we can say the events of Arkham City take place on February 15th, 1996.
Which means Arkham Knight takes place Halloween 1997.
I don't know why, but I found that really interesting when I read that.
Mm.
People can actually pinpoint the exact date via clues in the game.
I think people just have far too much time on their hands, but what the heck?
Yeah, I do as well, because it doesn't really make a massive
It doesn't make a lot of
difference.
It
No,
doesn't.
it's in its own continuity, so whatever they
Well,
want, that date could be anything.
This is the thing with Batman, and I'm going to reference Batman Beyond here because this point is never more relevant enough in Batman Beyond. The Batsuit in Batman Beyond is state of the art when Bruce Wayne is still Batman. It's also it's still years ahead of its time in 2023 when Batman Beyond takes place. So the whole point of Batman is that he has tech that is so far beyond what should be possible that's the reason why he's so good. So it doesn't really matter what year it is. In a lot of ways.
So, I mean, there's two things we'll talk about before we lead up to what is the ultimate ending of Batman, and this is the one that's got everybody talking. The 2 points I want to bring up, obviously, number one, the first ending, which is the unveiling of Batman, which leads to the finale ending, and number two, and I know we've spoken about this, but I really want to spend a couple of minutes on this. How amazing is Scarecrow in Arkham Knight? The character design of Scarecrow. That is the most terrifying character I have ever seen.
That is the whole point of Scarecrow, though. That is what Scarecrow should be. He should be the most frightening, horrifying looking person in the world, which means the fact that when he injects you with fear toxin, it makes him look so much more terrifying.
The fact the first time you see Scarecrow, it's pouring down with rain, and you see the one lightning bolt, and his face just slowly rise up, and you're like, oh. It's the face of pure evil. I mean,
thank you, Killer Croc, for that. We can thank Killer Croc for that.
As soon as I saw that, I was just like, that is, and the fact that he's got like the gas mask, like the actual bits of the mask stitched inside his own face, it's so good, so good. What did you think of it, Martin?
Oh, the character design of Scarecrow, I think I mentioned it earlier on as well, by far the best character design out of all of the Arkham designs. I've always held the Arkham designs quite highly. I think you've done a great job getting the Batman redesign in this game to make his armor similar to that of the Batmobile, so you can kind of see how they'd mesh together and everything. That's great.
The Batsuit in this is amazing. I love the Batsuit in this.
But there's nothing better than the design of Scarecrow. They absolutely nailed that.
I love it. I think I've said this before. I love the Arkham Knight design. I love the Arkham Knight design. I love the Arkham Knight design. I like Oracle's design as well. I like Oracle in this. And I think who was her voice actress in this? Ashley Greene.
It was. I can. If you bear with me 2 seconds. Fill time. Hold on. Wait for it.
The voice cast in this is magnificent. Like, is it? It's Mike from Breaking Bad who's Gordon.
Yeah,
I know that.
Ashley Greene played Oracle.
Yeah. I think she's cast perfectly in this. For the short period of time she's in it, which makes me want to see the DLC a lot more because she'll be quite substantially featured in this.
So we're kind of obviously scooting around it. Obviously, let's talk about sort of the big thing that happens in Batman. Now, the whole point is there's this whole thing in Batman called the Nightfall Protocol. What the Nightfall Protocol is it's devised by Bruce Wayne in the event that his identity as Batman is discovered. And it's never been mentioned before exactly what this Nightfall Protocol is. All it is apparently it's just a measure in place that is there should he be discovered. Now, this game has 2 endings. It's got the game ending and the 100% ending. Now,
the 100% ending that I am working towards, but I have seen it.
Yeah. None of us have 100%ed the game, but we've all seen what happens on YouTube, so we all know exactly what happens. Now, we'll do this in 2 parts. We'll do the game ending, and then we'll do the 100% ending. First of all, the game ending, when you spend 45 minutes, or the last 45 minutes effectively, trying to fight the Joker in your own mind and trying to make sure that the Joker does not control your own mind. Fantastic. Brilliant. And the fact
that takes place in Crime Alley as well.
And the fact that Joker starts corrupting your mind by having his own version of the Batmobile with the Joker-mobile.
Oh, that's amazing.
And instead of it being the power winch, it's just a tongue that goes up and down and blah, 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 blah. And that he actively kills. And he kills Penguin, Riddler, Two-Face. And then when you think it's Two-Face, it switches and it's James Gordon that he kills.
He kills Riddler as well.
Yeah, and the hostage.
I love the wee nod to the Killing Joke in this as well. Like we're going back to the hallucination in Batman's mind when he sees Joker shoot Barbara at the Watchtower after she's been taken. That's fantastic. And
then also you get the fact as well that it's 1 year after after Joker has died, and only Harley Quinn's at Joker's funeral.
Oh yeah. And it's just like you keep talking to her, and it's like, Harley!
and the whole
you call this awake!
And the whole point of this is it's all about Batman trying to regain control of his mind, and by doing that, he's making it so that the Joker never existed.
I love the courtyard scene in that. Just you shooting Batman statues, and every time you shoot a Batman statue, 2 more pop up.
To the point where
it eventually gets to the point where Batman just grabs you, throws you through a wall.
And the whole point is you lead up to Batman beating up Joker, kicking him into a prison cell, and throwing him effectively into the Arkham Asylum and into the back of Batman's mind, because Batman has finally taken control. But by then, obviously, he has been unmasked, and the world knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne. And at that point, Red Mask shoots the gun out of Scarecrow to make sure that Batman can't die. Then Batman, or Bruce Wayne at this point now, takes Scarecrow's arm that's got the needles with the fear toxin in it, turns it around, puts it in his neck, in Scarecrow's neck, and then James Gordon, out of nowhere, cold cocks Scarecrow, knocks him out, which I think is quite a hilarious ending.
I love how even after it's complete, that part's completed, if you go to the lockup at GCPD, you just see Scarecrow rocking back and forth. You just see him rocking back and forth in the lockup. It's amazing. And
then you get to quite an emotional scene when Batman sort of turns around and goes, "Right, that's it. Everybody knows me. That's the end." And he goes, "Look after them, Jim." And then
this is how the Batman died.
Yep. And that's the end of the game. Now, the end of the 100% completion is doing all the most wanted side missions and obviously doing all the Riddler challenges. When you do all the Riddler challenges, you go up to the GCPD building to where the bat symbol is. At the bat symbol, Batman takes off his helmet and drops it. He then contacts Jim one final time and says, "Gotham is safe. It's all yours." Jim responds, "Thank you, Bruce." And then obviously Batman responds, "Goodbye, Jim." Batman then takes his grapple gun and goes into the Batwing. And as he flies away, the Batlight is destroyed. It blows itself up.
Can I also point out just something here quickly? Have you noticed that the Batmobile's tied to the bottom of the Batwing?
Yep.
Yes, I noticed that. Yeah.
Yep. Obviously, now that the world knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman, there's a massive crowd over at Wayne Manor because they want to see the first shot of Bruce Wayne as Batman. Bruce flies his Batwing down onto the front lawn, and he gets out. And as he gets out, he walks up the steps, and Alfred goes, "Do you want to do this?" Batman replies, "It's the only way. It's the only thing that can be done." They shut the door. About 3 seconds after they shut the door, Wayne Manor explodes, as that was what Nightfall Protocol was. Nightfall Protocol was, if Batman is revealed, he must die. Or does he?
See, before we go into the rest of it, I like the subtle wee references to other stories in Batman mythos. The fact that it's named after the Nightfall story, where Bane finds out that Bruce Wayne and Batman are one and the same. The fact that it references Dark Knight Returns. It's not my favourite Batman story of all time, by the way. I don't even classify it as the greatest Batman story of all time. That's a completely different topic for a completely different time. But I love the fact that Wayne Manor pretty much burns to the ground.
The fact that it references Arkham City as well, with it being called the Nightfall Protocol, because obviously Arkham City was Protocol 10.
Yeah. It also references the story of Calendar Man, because Calendar Man is there to see Batman blow up at the end as well, as he promised he would do in Arkham City. He's there in the ending.
And it's also a reference to Azrael as well, where he says, Gotham will burn, and so will you.
Yep.
So, the reason I said Batman is dead, or is he, is because there's actually 4 major theories that have come out from the fans as to what exactly happens. And I'm going to read out each one, and we're going to discuss it.
Okay.
So, the first one, which is what most people believe, is that Batman has faked his death. This is what most seem to think the ending is, because Batman wouldn't kill Alfred. After the mansion explodes, Bruce, or Batman, whichever you want to call it, is presumed dead. Some people think that before the explosion, Bruce and Alfred may have went down to the cave to shelter themselves from the blast. In the 100% ending, where it shows Batman on the roof in the end, some believe that it may be Bruce under the cape and cowl, as people already saw the mansion explode, so they may think that Bruce is dead and this is just another Batman. Others believe there is another under the cape and cowl, such as Azrael, Jason, or some other member of the Bat family, possibly either Richard Grayson or Tim Drake. Some even believe the new Batman to be Terry McGinnis or Damian Wayne. It's unlikely though, seeing as Terry isn't born yet and there's no real evidence of Damian's existence other than Talia's remark in Batman Arkham City. Even then, Damian would not be old enough. In a Season of Infamy DLC leak, it was mentioned that Mr. Freeze was a primary antagonist. However, in the evidence locker, Cash will say that Freeze has not been seen since the Arkham City incident. This almost confirms that Bruce survived the blast and returned to Batman to stop those supervillains. Even then, Damian would not be old enough. Note, the Batman in the ending resembles the Batman from the hallucination in the main game. This suggests that this Batman may be using the fear toxin.
I would certainly think that Batman is using the theotoxin, but I don't think it would be Bruce. While Bruce would never give up being Batman, he can't. That's the whole point. He can't. As I said before, Bruce Wayne is the mask. The mask is now gone. Batman is all that remains.
If Batman is using fear toxin, then the logical progression would be Jason Todd.
It would be. If it isn't theotoxin, and Bruce has given up being Batman, then I think it's Nightwing.
No, I can't see Dick Grayson ever using theotoxin. In fact,
I don't think it's theotoxin. I think it is just. It might be. It should be Jason, but if it is Dick, he's the only other person to take up the Batman mantle. Unless you count the New 52, where, spoiler alert everybody, James Gordon is the new Batman in the New 52.
With big rabbit ears in a robot suit.
I also forgot to mention that in the 100% ending as well, James Gordon goes from being the chief of GCPD to also the mayor of Gotham City as well.
I will openly say it is not Tim Drake.
No, it's not Tim Drake, 'cause he's busy getting married at the time.
Oh, yeah. I hate that part of the story. Please.
Oh, what?
This is Tim and Barbara. I hate that. It should never happen under any circumstance.
My theories on it are that I can't imagine it being Batman purely because, as Ciaran was kind of mentioning, the idea of Batman and of Bruce Wayne is that he will follow a certain amount. He's got his own ethics code, and his ethics code would be broken in order for him to use the theotoxin on people, and he isn't going to do that. The whole reason for him revealing that he is Bruce Wayne is because he would not break certain protocols, and because he broke it, he had to get rid of himself. So he's not going to suddenly come back and go, oh, well, now my rules no longer matter. So I can't imagine it being him. With he being a Red Hood, he's taken the mantle of Batman before in the comics. Jason Todd has been Batman. Jason Todd has killed people as Batman before. So it's possible that it could be with him. Yes, he worked with Scarecrow. He's got a ready supply of Theotoxin. It fits in perfectly. So that one's probably the most sensible. At the same time, this is a guy who would want to make his own name. He's the one person out of all of the people in the Bat family who didn't really take a name that belonged to a bat or to any sort of animal. He went with the Red Hood, which was actually the former moniker of the Joker before he became the Joker. He wanted to be separate. He wanted to be kept different because he didn't follow the same rules as the Bat family. So even though he's got that close bond, I believe he'd want to be known as the Red Hood. And then, as you said,
going on to the, just for a second, going on to the Red Hood thing, there's a reason why he doesn't take up a moniker belonging to the Bat family, and it's because Jason has never felt like a member of the Bat family.
No, he's always been an outcast.
There's a specific line, it's when Damian Wayne dies in the comics, and Alfred has put up a memorial in the Batcave for Damian, and it's Jason says to him, the reason why Bruce is shut down like this is because, rather than what he did with me, is I was just another Robin. That was Batman's son who died. Jason has always seen himself as just another Robin. He's never seen himself as Bruce's son. Like, Dick was adopted by Bruce because of his parents' death. Tim Drake worked out who Batman was and was taken on as Batman's partner. And Damian Wayne is obviously Batman's son. And then you've got Barbara, who takes it on because of the fact she's inspired by Batman to become she becomes Batgirl as a result. Jason was always as you said, was always the outcast. He was always rebelling against Batman, so it only made sense that he would take on the moniker of the man who killed him as a kind of this mad twist at both Batman and the Joker psychologically. So he would never, I don't think, and the whole reason he becomes Batman in Battle of the Cowl is because of the fact he feels, I'm the only one who can do it. You won't do it. Tim can't do it. And Damien's too young. I'm the only person who can do it. And then Nick proves it wrong.
Well, this brings up, interestingly, what the second theory is by fans. The second theory is that Batman is dead and that Gotham uses fear gases to control criminals. Some believe this to be a possible meaning to the ending as well. After the explosion, Bruce is dead. There is no Batman on the streets to control criminal activities in Gotham. Some people think that the city is using the fear toxin to control criminals and strike fear into the hearts after Batman's death, although this seems unlikely as well due to the fact that the fear toxin should affect the innocent bystanders in Gotham as well as the criminals.
It should. That theory is completely... It's nonsensical as a theory to me. Even like Jim Gordon as a person would never use fear toxin because he's seen what it does to people. It doesn't make sense. It would make sense for the mayor of Gotham to use fear toxin as a means of control.
The next one which I'll read to you is Theory 3, which is the one that you were sort of getting into, which is Bruce Wayne is dead. Now I'll repeat this, Bruce Wayne is dead, and another takes on the mantle. Another possible meaning to the Nightfall Protocol ending is that Bruce isn't indeed dead, but another Batman takes the mantle. Fans speculate the new Batman is either Jason Todd, Nightwing, or Azrael. Azrael seems the most likely candidate, stated above, since the new Batman resembles the hallucination Batman. It is believed the new Batman is using fear toxin. That's the one we haven't talked about, Azrael being the new Batman.
Yeah, it depends which storyline ending you went with, though. Because depending on which story you follow during the Nightfall Protocol, you do one of two things. You let Azrael go off on his own to go and seek revenge on the people who brainwashed him at Saint Dumas, or you arrest him. And if he's arrested, he's in lockup. So who's going to release him so that he can go and become Batman?
Which ending did you do?
I actually let him go.
I let him
locked him
go
up.
as well.
I locked
Right,
him
so
up.
what happens when you lock him up? Because I don't know the ending for that.
When you
I
lock
never
him
seen
up,
that when I let him go.
when you lock him up, effectively Batman breaks the sword, knocks him out, and throws him in jail. And says that basically you could, when you speak to him in jail, he basically turns around and says you could have broken the mind controls they played on you, but instead, like, you let your greed and your bloodlust take over, and for that you will stay in prison. Effectively, that's effectively what he says. And obviously, Azrael turns around and goes, "I will come out, and next time I will kill you."
So it depends. It's kind of like the there's a canon ending to certain games, isn't there? Like like when you have Star Wars Force Unleashed, you have the option to do the light side and the dark side ending, but the light side is the canon ending. What would you say the canon ending is for this? Would you say that Azrael going off on his own is the canon ending? Because if that is, then it wouldn't give credence to Azrael being the new Batman, because that was what happens at the end of the story. But he's proven himself to be capable of being the new Batman.
I would say potentially it doesn't really matter, because in the grand scheme of things, what does Azrael do? He sets a couple of fires on building roofs, but other than that, he's fighting robots essentially that Batman puts in front of him. He never hurts a civilian. He doesn't do anything. So the fact that he gets arrested in any way seems crazy to me. But if Batman did arrest him, he's got no real charges to be held on. So I suppose he could escape, but I suppose it depends how you want to take it.
He wouldn't be able to escape. He's been trained by the Order of Saint Dumas to copy all of Batman's movements, so he should be able to escape.
Well, he should be released. Like I say, he's not really done anything that's a crime.
Attempted murder is a crime. Attempted murder. They don't get that a Nobel Prize for attempted chemistry.
Well, I'm reading.
Go on, if anybody can give me anybody who can guess the reference to that gets a cookie. And not you, Martin, and not you, James.
I'm reading here. In the Nightfall series of comics, Azrael takes up the count after Bane cripples Batman, while he slowly tarnishes his reputation. The Nightfall Protocol could take its name from this storyline, possibly hinting at the identity of the returned Batman. Using the fear toxin would be a suitable way to ruin Batman's name as well.
Especially if we're going to get if the DLC can, because what we've been told is the DLC takes place both before Arkham City, or before Arkham Knight,
and afterwards.
So it depends on which DLC we get, because it would expand on the story.
The final theory that people have is that Bruce Wayne is or isn't dead, and that the ending is figurative. Another possible meaning is that following Bruce either committing suicide or faking his death, the citizens of Gotham are inspired by his sacrifice and fight back against crime. Unlike Thomas and Martha Wayne, the family at the end could be a metaphor for Bruce's family, as the mother at the end has the same necklace as Martha Wayne. The giant bat is a metaphor for someone coming in to stop the thugs and save the family. The citizens fighting back against crime would allow Tim and Barbara to get married without any issues, and would fulfill Batman's mission of not letting the 8-year-old boy lose his parents to crime.
Given that there's a good chance that we're never going to get another Batman Arkham game, there's rumours that they've moved on to Superman already. There was apparently a leak on the internet.
Please let Rocksteady do a Superman. Please let Rocksteady do a Superman game.
Yeah, there was a leak.
God, please.
There was a leaked picture, but I'm pretty sure that it's just someone fucking around.
They do reference Superman in the game.
Oh yeah, there's tons of references, but I'm pretty sure
they directly talk. They talk about like different characters in the game. It's like they reference Star City, they reference Metropolis, they reference Keystone as well. They reference Flash. I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah, there's tons of references all the way through. But Yeah, we know we're definitely not going to get another Batman game, but in terms of the DLC, I'm not sure how far they're going to continue on. I mean, we're getting Barbara Gordon one, which is pre-Arkham series anyway, because it's when she was Batgirl before she got crippled and everything. And there's the Jason Todd DLC, which takes place after Arkham Knight, because it's when he's Red Hood going after Black Mask. The rest of the DLC is apparently Batman fighting superheroes who are invading Arkham, or invading Gotham rather. So whether this takes place after or not seems a little bit confusing, because if it's afterwards, he's already given up the mantle, and if it's before, then again, it's not really adding anything to the story. So it may very well be that it is meant to be figuratively. It's meant to be, well, there's always going to be a Guardian. There's always going to be that looming doubt over every criminal's mind. Oh shit, what if Batman is still around? What if he comes and gets me? Leaving the city completely safe. So Rocksteady can figuratively now move on from Gotham and go somewhere else. They can go to Star City, they can go to Metropolis, they can go to Oliver Queen Industries and start a Green Arrow game, do whatever they want. They can move on now.
Would they do a Green Arrow game, though?
No, they'd probably do Green Arrow as part of the thing.
Given the success of Arrow, would they do one?
No, because have you ever seen a TV show game actually be good?
I don't mean it has to link into the Arrow TV show. I'm just saying, would you capitalize off the success of Arrow?
No, I think if they made an Arrow game, everyone would just say it's a Batman game with a bow and arrow.
But then again, I thought that about Arrow Season 1. I thought it was Batman Begins with Green Arrow.
Yeah, it's kind of how it is. It's a very, very similar style thing. It's a billionaire vigilante.
Aye, but then and then in Season 2 it becomes its own thing. Also, I've linked that screenshot for anybody who wants, for any of you guys to have a look at it, if you want.
What, that's Superman?
The Superman one.
Yeah. They've got a screenshot.
It's an Xbox One screenshot.
Yeah, they've also got a thingy. There's a GIF of it as well, because someone actually filmed it on a screen, saying that it was screen.
When was that? Where was this taken?
I don't know. It was leaked on July the 3rd, so it was leaked on Friday.
What was it on July the 3rd? Because it's too early for it to be Comic-Con.
It doesn't have to be anything. It could have just been some internal code that someone found.
No, it's not internal code. It's to do with the game.
It's not. I can tell you right now, it's not from Injustice, because the background's too light.
Honestly, I don't think this is anything. I think this is somebody.
It could be a very good mock-up. It could be a very good mock-up.
I assume it's a mock-up, but you never know.
If it is a mock-up, it's a very, very good one.
The only reason I say that is because I got duped with the Captain America banner that was going around. Oh, the teaser
trailer!
The one with... No, it was the picture of the one with the Captain America hand over the Iron Man mask.
Oh,
like, with the
apparently the teaser trailer for Captain America Civil War has been released.
But the one I saw that was making the rounds was the Captain America.
Oh, the poster's fan-made, but it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's fantastically made.
But the reason I was saying that one is because that got me, which makes me believe that that one is a fan-made one as well.
People are getting far too good at Photoshop.
Apparently, people believe that the GIF might be from Infinite Crisis, but as the game's just about to shut down,
that's
not
what it's
entirely
from.
sure. Yeah,
I think
people
that's
aren't
what it's
entirely sure because it's new content for a game that they're about to shut down, which seems bizarre, but it's the most likely thing.
Hold on.
I think that's what it is.
Why
because it fits that color. It fits the color scheme of Infinite Crisis quite well.
But didn't Infinite Crisis only just launch like 3 months ago?
It did and it didn't in a lot of ways.
Oh, is it one of those ones like it went into early access, it was crap, so they've shut it down?
Very much.
So, I mean, overall, I mean, I don't know how we'll do. Yeah, actually, let's give a rating if you want to Batman Arkham Knight, and then if you want, give a rating to the overall Batman Arkham universe storyline. I'll go first if you want to give you guys some time to think about this. I'm probably going to say Arkham Knight in my eyes is probably, I'd say, what, 75% out of 100% for me. I think the two things that annoyed me in that game, one, the overuse of the Batmobile, and
I think
two,
we can all agree on that one.
and two, the constant prodding of Jason Todd's Arkham Knight, with the fact that at least for an hour they were constantly saying, "This is the Arkham Knight. This is the Arkham Knight." But besides that, it's a very, very solid game. In the Arkham universe, I'd probably have to give this 90% out of 100. I'd say it's a very, very strong story, very, very tightly done. The only problem I would say though is it has no replayability value. Even with New Plus mode, it's still not entirely replayable.
No, not really.
We'll go with you, Ciaran, obviously, because what do you think? So, Arkham Knight and then overall story.
Right, Arkham Knight. I agree with your points. I agree that there's an over-reliance on the Batmobile. Excuse me while I play with a Rubik's Cube. It's a very... Right, I'm going to get rid of it now. This is the beauty of live podcasting, ladies and gentlemen. Right, I'll start again. I agree with your points. There's an over-reliance on the Batmobile. Me and Martin were talking about it, and the way I describe it was, it's like playing The Last of Us, and then in the middle points of The Last of Us, it goes from being this stealthy third-person game into a Call of Duty first-person shooter where you feel invincible. It's like, and it takes you out of the game a wee bit. I also agree with points of the as much as I love it, as much as I love the reveal of Jason Todd as Batman, as Arkham Knight, and he kind of morphs into Red Hood in the game as well, doesn't he? He morphs into Red Hood in the game as well. As much as I don't like the fact that it is too obvious, I do love that part of the story. I love their own interpretation of death in the family. I like the whole reason why Jason does want to go after Bruce, because unlike in Under the Red Hood, he doesn't go after Bruce because of for any other reason other than the fact that he feels that he's failed. Have the two of you seen the movie? Have the two of you seen that movie?
Mm.
Yeah.
James, have you seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole motivation of Jason Todd's character is summed up in the final third of that movie when they're in the apartment building. He's about to kill Joker. It's like, I want you to cross that line, not because it was easy, but it's because he took me away from you. That's Jason's entire motivation. You didn't kill Joker for what he did to me. You moved on after he kidnapped me. I was tortured and branded with a J on my face. That's the reason why I want you dead. That I like that. I like the anger of Jason Todd, because that's what his character should be. He should be the angry anti-Batman in a lot of ways. I love Scarecrow's, as we all agree, Scarecrow's design is amazing. So again, I like the story. I can't praise this game enough, but because of the flaws with it, it doesn't get perfect score. So I'm gonna say, I'm not doing percentages like James is. It's a 9 out of 10, just because of the fact that I don't like certain aspects of the game. But it's so close to perfect that I could cry that it messes up on these two wee things, or two massive things. If you're James and Martin and apparently 99% of the internet.
Yeah,
the Arkham series as a whole, it is close to being the perfect trilogy of games. I'm not including Arkham Origins in that series, even though Arkham Origins is a very good game. It's nearly the perfect trilogy, isn't it?
so close to being the perfect trilogy because it's three games that are so different as time goes on. The Arkham series as a whole is again a 9 out of 10 for me because it's so close to being perfect. Each game's got its own wee faults that just bring it down a wee bit.
Martin, the same question to you. Rate Batman Arkham Knight and then rate the Arkham series.
Right. Arkham Knight, as I've already said, probably the best story of the three games in terms of the main story with Batman overcoming the fear and dealing with the idea that he's actually been pushed to the edge and killed someone, and also how does the greatest hero live without the greatest villain. Throw in the fact that he also failed at saving Jason Todd becoming the Red Hood and the Arkham Knight. All of that is fantastic. Absolutely great. My only problems with the way that Jason Todd was he feels like he's shoehorned in. To me, when this game was first announced, I said to you on a different podcast, it better not be Jason Todd, purely because there'd been no hint that Jason Todd was in the Arkham universe before. So it kind of fell flat a little bit. Even though I knew who he was all the way through, it still fell flat on the reveal. So I think it kind of let itself down there. In gameplay elements, Arkham Knight way too reliant on the Batmobile. The Batmobile's at its best when it's chasing down APCs or doing a couple of the Deathstroke missions where you're having to shoot the drones when they come in. But being involved in almost every single mission, every single boss fight, so to speak, involves the Batmobile. I mean, when you finally get to fight Riddler, you're using the Batmobile. When you get to fight Deathstroke, you're using the Batmobile. If you do the Scarecrow DLC on the PS4, that's all Batmobile based. If you get to fight Arkham Knight, Batmobile. It's just so reliant on it, and it just completely takes away from it, because to me, Batman shouldn't be driving around in a tank. He's driving around in an armoured car that can protect itself, but not something that's blowing everything up. It just seemed a little bit too over the top. Also, while I was speaking about the Riddler earlier, some of those finding the trophies, again, just annoying. You were just seemingly put in places to go, don't forget to use your power winch, and don't forget that you can hook onto this and drive the Batmobile up walls. And I've never been a massive fan of finding all the trophies.
Can I just say something quickly? I've seen this joke before, and it's like, what happens if we have the Batmobile driving up walls? If you suggest another idea from Batman Forever, you're fired.
Yeah, it just seems silly that the whole game to me went, okay, we're going to add the Batmobile to the game, and instead of just having it as the Batmobile as a way to drive around, knock cars off the road and stuff as it was in the APC chases, you went, we've got to justify it, so let's make it so it can fight, let's make it so you need it to do the Riddler missions, let's make it so you need it for this, that and the other, and it became too much of a crux for the game. So that completely took me out of the game, having to use the Batmobile too much. But other than that, fantastic. Total, I'd give it 8 out of 10. In terms of the whole Arkham universe game as a trilogy, as Ciaran said, it's almost the perfect trilogy. To me, every game has added something. I won't say it's necessarily improved, because Arkham Knight's possibly my least favourite of the three. But they've all added something. They've all made me want to continue playing. There's definitely no part of Arkham Knight that I was playing and thought, I want to turn this off. So the fact that it managed to hold my attention, it did add quite a lot of new stuff, and the story was so good. I'm willing to say that it was still a very, very worthwhile part of the trilogy, and overall probably give the trilogy between 9 and 9.5 out of 10. Definitely the best trilogy of games I've played, and no doubt at all that it's the best group of superhero games that they've ever done.
There is one thing left that I need to discuss.
Go on, James. Come on, you must have something prepared for this. Dramatic music, please.
This game is broken on PC in the terms of you shouldn't play it, you shouldn't buy it, you should get a refund for this. Do you know what? In the words of zero punctuation, they should just give you an empty box. When you open it, it's just got chocolates inside it with a sorry note from Rocksteady. Right, I'll take you through how this basically works out. Batman launches worldwide 12:01 AM, June 23rd. It affects random PCs. There are people running GT970Xs, overclocked GT970Xs, the highest, running Titans, the highest NVIDIA graphics card, Titans. People are running the highest AMD graphics cards. They can't play the game because the optimization, the VRAM, and the frame rate issues make it almost impossible to play the game. And when I mean impossible, I mean going into stuff like the Batmobile and flying puts your frame rate down to as low as single digits. That's not acceptable. What makes it even worse is you find out if you go into the games option on the PC menu and you go to the controller settings are all mapped to the DualShock 4 controller. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the PC version got the PlayStation 4 version with DualShock 4 controller buttons. They couldn't even give us an optimized version that was correct for PC. So they gave us a badly optimized version that doesn't work, and then to top the shit Sunday on the shitty game they released for PC, they turn around, and this is brilliant, Rocksteady turn around and go, it's not our fault, it's Iron Galaxy Studios' fault because they were the company that ported it. Iron Galaxy Studios, mind you, who done the port for Arkham Origins, which was a pile of balls when it got released. They did the port for Minerva's Den and for Bioshock 2, which was a pile of balls when it got released on PC. And prior to that, they have done nothing but console games and iPhone games. They have never properly made a PC game. Need I remind you that Iron Galaxy Studios has got 12 employees. They had 12 employees do the PC version of Batman. And when you go into the graphics settings of PC version, no anti-aliasing, no anti-occlusion, you can't change your graphics settings properly, VSync doesn't work, the lighting doesn't work, the textures pop in, the rain effects don't work, the smoke effects don't work, the fog effects don't work. Nothing works on that game. You actually have to go into the INI file, which is what I did. I went through the INI file and I had to manually change every single thing on there to make it work. I had to manually change the frame rate, I had to manually change the resolution, I had to manually change the anti-aliasing in there. They released an update the following week that fixes nothing, and in some cases makes it that other people who are playing the game now can't play it at all. This
You're
to me,
surprisingly calm right now, and I'm getting a wee bit worried.
this to me is the worst launch on PC probably in the last 5 years. Because here's what pisses me off, right? Assassin's Creed Unity was a bad game at launch, mainly because it was released before it was finished. But they did patch it and they did recover it pretty quickly. And Martyn, I think you would agree with that. They did kind of recover it pretty quickly. It's a bad game, but it was recoverable.
I got mine a month after release and it worked pretty much fine. I never had a glitch through it.
The PC version, okay, on Steam, 65% of the reviews on Steam were negative. And I don't mean negative, I mean they were massively, overwhelmingly negative to the game. It was so bad, Arkham Knight has been pulled from every single PC retailer in the world. You cannot buy the PC version of Arkham Knight right now. It has been pulled everywhere because Warner Brothers and Rocksteady are now working on giving a optimized version of the PC for PC players, which apparently will now not be released until at the earliest the autumn of this year. Bearing in mind this game has been delayed from June of last year. to October of last year, to March of this year, to June of this year. They delay it 4 times, and we still get a version on PC that is unplayable. Now, I'm no expert, Martin, but if you had that on a console, I'm pretty sure there would be hell to pay.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you had it on a console, there'd be a lot more of an issue than there is on the PC.
Oh, James, trust me. If what the issues that you've had on PC, if they were released on a console, there wouldn't just be hell to pay. I would imagine that Rocksteady, Warner Brothers, Sony, and Microsoft would be burned to the fucking ground right now.
And need I remind you also as well, the problems that these video drivers are having, I run AMD drivers, obviously people run NVIDIA drivers, it's completely random. There are some people who run 970s that it's working fine. There are other people that are running 970s that it goes as low as 10 frames a second. No one can work out what the exact problem is because no one has got the same problem. I think that is the biggest problem. I keep saying that, but that's the biggest problem with this game. There is no set problem. Everybody has got random issues. When a game has got random issues and not one person is having the same problem, don't release the game.
Can I ask a question, James?
Yes.
You know there's points in time where you do get console-only releases and then eventually they come to PC.
Yes.
Would you have much rather they had waited until the optimized version of the PC one was done before releasing it, and then you could have gotten it on a console and it wouldn't have mattered?
Here's the thing, right? I mean, I know it's not the best example. The best version of Grand Theft Auto 5 is on PC. It took nearly 2.5 years for it to be released on PC. The PC version is incredible. It's the best version by far.
Because they've taken time to actually work on it.
They took the time, they completely reworked it, they gave us all the graphical options that we wanted, you've got the video function replay there, but they worked on it. This was a side project to a market they believe don't play games.
So ultimately, do you, as a PC gamer, because you're more of a PC gamer than I am, do you put this down to Rocksteady, or do you put it down to Warner Brothers ultimately picking the wrong studio to port the game and then forcing them to get it out when it's not ready?
It goes down to both of them.
Or do you blame all parties involved?
I blame all parties involved. Iron Galaxy, you've only got 12 people and you're making a PC port. You should have turned around and said, we need more people. Rocksteady, you should have put your foot down. You should have said, if we're making a PC port, we want to do it, or we want to do it our way. Warner Brothers have put their foot down and gone, look, Iron Galaxy didn't work with Arkham Origins, we're not using them again. Why did you use a company that got it wrong the first time?
What happens if they had... I can think of a legal reason why, but on an ethical plane, I can't think of a reason why. On a legal plane, if you've got a contract that... Arkham Knight was announced before...
What was that? What was that?
Into a legal agreement.
What was that you broke up? You said Arkham Knight was...
Arkham Knight was effectively confirmed before Origins, wasn't it? We didn't have a game name, we knew it was in development.
Supposedly, that's the thing. It was never officially announced.
So what happened? So if Warner Brothers have entered... What's the name of the studio again?
Iron Galaxy.
Right, Iron Galaxy. If they've entered into a legal agreement with Iron Galaxy to port the 2 games, they can't actually cancel the contract.
If can.
Legally, they've been paid
games.
Technically they can. They can pay off the contract.
Warner Bros. Would have enough money to do that, but at the same time, I think they lack the common sense. As we said earlier on, and we said it in jest, but I'm saying it in all seriousness, you tried to start off your blooming cinematic universe by using Green Lantern. You're fucking idiots.
I won't go much further than that because there's not a lot we can say. I mean, here's the
There's
thing.
not a lot you can say that hasn't already been said by somebody else.
AMD and Nvidia, and I've had to do this, have actually released beta updates to the video drivers just specifically to get Batman working.
And it's still not working, is it?
And it's still not working. So I don't blame AMD, I don't blame Nvidia. It's not their problem. Why are you releasing a game that's not working in the first place? This is a game that would never get past Q&E testing or Q&A testing on console releases. Why are you doing it to PC? I've got no more that needs to be said. Have either of you got anything that wants to be said?
Nope, you got dipped, mate. You got taken out. You got taken behind an alley, bent over a dumpster and shagged. That's what happened to you.
That's alright, I've got Witcher 3 on PC, which has been keeping me entertained. Happy James is happy. And obviously I've got Formula 1 coming out this week. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to our Batman...
I hope everybody can see this.
Thank you for listening to our Batman Arkham, overall review of the series.
We're just going to call this the Arkham Knight review / James PC Arkham Knight rant. That's what it is.
But thank you for listening to this. Martyn and Ciaran, thank you for joining me tonight to talk about all things Batman.
No problem.
It's not who I am underneath. It's what I do that defines me.
I don't know what the next game will probably be doing in terms of the one, because it's got to be one that we all play. That's the thing.
It's not really a big one that comes out for the rest of the year.
But it's not just... Well, the thing is, though, it's not a big one. It's a big one that we all play, because Martyn and me will probably play just about anything, but Ciaran, you're very selective on your games.
I'm selective because of the fact that I've got the money.
Next big game for me will either be Phantom Pain or Fallout 4.
See, I wouldn't play any of those games, that's the problem. Because I don't like Metal Gear Solid. Shockingly.
Next game for me, if you discount obviously like Formula 1 and games like that, next game for me probably looks to be... Look right now. Actually, it's probably Forza Motorsport 6, knowing me.
I don't have one for the rest of the year at all. Because I didn't get the game I wanted from E3. You know which one I'm talking about, James?
Kingdom Hearts.
They fucked up the release of it. They should have given more information instead of just currently in development. Fuck you, gives a time frame.
Do you know what I said? I said it after E3. I said, "Thank you for giving me a Tangled World. Thank you for giving me the Titans fight from Hercules. I don't mind the Tangled World. I like the movie. I don't mind the Titan fights from Hercules. Give me a release date and stop dicking me about. Stop fucking me about, please."
No.
James, this is psychological torture. This is psychological torture for me. It's seeing all the stuff there and I can't touch it.
There is one thing I want to ask you, Martyn, because I haven't obviously had a chance to speak to you. How bad did Doom look at the Bethesda reveal event?
Yeah, I didn't think it looked very good at all.
How bad did that look? It looked horrible. And I'll go on record, and I don't know if you agree with this, Martyn. I think Doom stays in developmental hell forever.
It'll definitely be there for a while. Hopefully they're going to concentrate on better things than trying to bring back Doom and failing.
I don't think that gets released next year. I guarantee you that gets pushed back, and we never see the light of day.
I have figured out the next game that I am definitely playing.
What's that?
Anyone want to take a stab in the dark?
FIFA 16.
No. That is the next game I'm going to...
Next game I'm playing, Rory McIlroy Golf.
Yeah, but...
Actually, yeah, that gets,
no.
yeah. Rory McIlroy Golf gets released next week, doesn't it? Next Wednesday.
Yeah, but on EA Sports Access, it comes out on Thursday.
Oh, of course it does, doesn't it? Sweet.
It's the next installment in what I consider the greatest game trilogy of all time.
SpongeBob SquarePants 3.
Fuck you, James. It's a PS4 exclusive.
Oh, just tell us you.
Oh, Uncharted then.
Ding, ding, ding. You get a cookie. I consider everybody I consider Uncharted to be the greatest gaming trilogy of all time.
Yeah, Uncharted is amazing.
But at least,
best.
but Martyn, one last thing. You and me can finally get excited. Mirror's Edge Catalyst has a release date.
Oh, that was amazing.
About time.
We kind of diverted into blooming post E3 nerdgasms, haven't we?
February 26th, Martyn. Write it down.
Done.
Right.
So, James, would the next big thing we're going to be talking about probably be a little thing called SummerSlam?
The next podcast I'll be doing, we'll be talking to Tom about the British Grand Prix, then we've got to talk about something off air for future. But probably the next wrestling thing we'll do will be SummerSlam.
Well, you're gonna have to do it on, say, the 16th of August.
Yeah, 'cause you're going.
Yeah. And guess what? I've not just got tickets to SummerSlam.
I know
You're going
you
to
said.
NXT as well.
We've got tickets to NXT.
Good for you. So you should have.
We're gonna be in the Barclays Centre for 3 nights. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be fantastic. I'm gonna cry. You will probably be seeing me on the networks, guys. So have fun. Have fun seeing my ugly mug.
Yeah, just don't take signs which I know will get you kicked out.
Marry me, Paige.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this again. Thank you guys for joining me, and we shall see you next time.